Please come.
May I sit?
Please sit down. Please. How are you, Mr. Yasharth?
I'm fine, sir.
You were here last year also?
Yes, sir.
What happened? You couldn't make it?
Sir, I did not get very good marks in written.
Oh, I see. How much you got in interview?
Sir, 173.
173. Not bad. So written, you messed up which paper?
Sir, optional paper 1 and GS paper 3. Apart from that, I did not generally score very good in other papers also. So,
But this time you think you've done well.
I've tried to do better than last time, hoping for a better result.
Please sit relaxed. Let your back touch the back of the chair. आराम से बैठो बेटा. Chalo, never mind. It's a part of life. So we'll start. Please tell us something about yourself.
So, my name is YASHARTH and I was born in Lucknow. I have completed my class 12 from Lucknow, the Martin College, and then I completed my graduation in economics honors from St. Stephen's College in 2018, and since then I've been preparing for UPSC.
Recently, one of the ex-students of Stephens delivered a lecture in Stephens.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Who?
S. Jaishankar, the Foreign Minister of India.
Yes, he was indeed. Tell me which countries touch Ukraine? How many?
So, the first one is Russia, the second one is Moldova, third one is Poland, fourth one is Romania, and so if we talk about the maritime borders, then it is also bordered by Turkey on the south and Georgia.
You're forgetting Belarus,
Yes, Belarus also.
Hungary,
Yes, Hungary, sir.
Poland, there are anyway. So, traveling. So, where did you travel to last?
So, lastly I travelled to Mukteshwar in Uttarakhand.
Anywhere else after that?
So, before that I travelled to Jaisalmer also.
So, tell us about both the places one by one. First, tell us about Mukteshwar. What did you see there?
So, Mukteshwar is primarily famous for a very famous eponymous temple, Mukteshwar Mahadev, and there is also an Indian Veterinary Research Institute also. Apart from that, there is a very famous place called Chauli Ki Jali. It's actually a rocky outcrop with certain traditions associated with it, like with respect to childbirth, that people who don't usually get a child.
So, you went to the temple, basically you went for the temple?
I went for the temple, and there's also a very good waterfall, Bhalugad waterfall. There's also a very beautiful waterfall.
How do you go to Mukteshwar from Delhi?
So, by car, it's around 360-70 kilometers from Delhi. It is located in the district of Nainital.
And later on you went to some other place, you said?
Jaisalmer.
So, how was that?
So, that is a very good place, especially the history and the culture of that place is very unique. You get to go for a camel safari in the sand dunes. There's also a good place around 120 kilometers from Jaisalmer called Tanut, which is around 19 kilometers from the India-Pakistan border. There I got the permission to travel to India-Pakistan border as well. The closest city to that place happens to be Rahim Yar Khan of Pakistan, and there's also a place called.
Now tell us about Pakistan, since you are talking of it.
Yes, sir.
What is the latest in Pakistan?
So, latest in Pakistan we can see is the political instability that have arisen in Pakistan because of several allies of.
So, which opposition party yesterday left Imran Khan?
So, MQM.
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 Who is the leader?
So, I can't recall the name right now.
Who are the leaders of other parties there? Please name the parties and their leaders.
So, the major party in the opposition or the Pakistan as a whole?
All major parties.
So, the first party which has the largest number of seats happens to be PTI, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. The leader is Imran Khan. The second one is the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, which is headed by Nawaz Sharif's brother Shahbaz Sharif. The third one is Pakistan People's Party, which is headed by the son of Benazir Bhutto, Bilawal Bhutto. And then there are small parties like Baluchistan Awam Party.
Can you tell me the names of the political parties in Bangladesh and their leaders?
So in Bangladesh, there are majorly two parties: Awami League, headed by Sheikh Hasina, and there is the Bangladesh National Party, which is headed by.
So tell me about this COVID.
Yes, sir.
What lessons India learnt on the economic front from COVID?
So there were many lessons that India learned. The first is that in the attempt for globalization, we can't simply ignore domestic dependencies, that we need to have a basic domestic infrastructure for all the goods that we depend on the world also. For example, automobile chips, that because of the COVID pandemic, we are not able to import it. So secondly, amount of money that is to be invested in the health infrastructure, because it will contribute to creating a workforce that will work for the development of the country, especially on the economic front, is essential. So thirdly, I believe that sound finances, especially macroeconomic indicators, whether it is debt to GDP ratio or the policies that are affecting the inflation, they are very must, because in countries that did not follow adequate policies like USA, they end up
You're not touching employment.
So
housing.
Yes, sir.
Employment and housing for migrant workers, the way we saw the images.
Yes, sir.
Some kind of a guarantee on that.
So fourthly, on employment, I can say that every state in India needs to take an incentive to create employment, basic employment, and in their own, so that so as to reduce the minimum amount of migration.
But tell me, you think Indian history should be rewritten, because there's a lot of debate going on, many people saying that a lot of injustice has been done to the real history of India in the past. So as we were taught, so he says the people are saying it should be rewritten. What's your view?
So I believe that certain sections can be looked into, especially for example, if we look at the history of Delhi from 1750s to 1850s, we have not been taught that at certain points, because our general impression that comes to us is that Delhi was usually under the control of the Mughals. But if we go if we do detailed analysis of Delhi, we realize that at many point of time, Delhi was under the control of Rohillas. At some point, it was under the control for a very long, around 50 years, from 1750s to till 1803, we can say that Delhi was under the control of the Marathas. But this has not been well written into the books.
And under Sikhs also.
And under Sikhs also for a certain period of time. So I would not say that there can be wholesome revision of history.
Even about Mughals, they are saying that it's distorted version which is being taught.
Maybe maybe since history is supposedly.
So you support the view that it should be rewritten.
It may be looked
I'm
into.
broadly
Yes,
saying.
yes, sir. It may be looked into.
What else can be the reason apart from this distortions? What else can be the reason for rewriting history?
So probably because of the fact that newer and newer facts are coming about what was the situation back in the history. Newer and newer resources, with the new technologies, we can discover new sources. And secondly, it is widely believed that history of what we read today was written by writers of certain political persuasions or certain leanings.
No, but also history of the Northeast is not there.
Yes, that is also one.
Much focus on the history of southern India is not there.
Yes, sir.
That is what it is. Now tell me, what is the latest achievement of ISRO?
So I can't recall that right now.
Don't know.
No, sir, I can't recall that right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. YASHARTH,
Yes, sir.
you watch web series.
Yes, sir.
Which are the popular web series that you watch?
So I've watched. There's a series called Mirzapur. There's a series called Panchayat. And there is a series called Bandish Bandits. And recently I watched, actually I'm watching Scam 1992 right now.
Okay. But are you disturbed by the content, by the language used in these web series?
So sometimes in certain web series there is a lot of violence, nudity and abuses being heard. So this does affect the mindset of the people who are watching it. However, I would say that if we can properly censor it for certain category of people, then by reducing the scope of violence a little bit, creative freedom can be continued with the freedom that they want to enjoy. I think, yes.
I'm specifically referring to the abuses,
Yes, sir.
to the language that is used in these websites, in some of these websites.
So I believe that the use of abuses,
It's revolting.
it's revolting, but I think that it is because of two reasons that they've come into the cinema. The first is the influence from the Hollywood, and the second is the fact that our Bollywood or the regional cinema, which usually cater to us, has presented the reality in a very idealistic way, in which the world does not behave. So a lot of people think that by being a little more experimental in the web series, they can explore more dimensions of India. Also, a lot of web series are based in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which reflect the basic idea of what India is at the ground. So they may not reflect exactly what is happening in the web series, but they do try to take some inspiration from there.
But they reflect the worst in a society.
In some web series, I would say yes. For example, in Mirzapur, there's a lot of violence and there's a lot of hurling of abuse, and I think that should be moderated.
So there should be censorship.
I would not say censorship of the kind that CBFC exercises, but I think that self-censorship, and with the passage of time, I think they would come to realization that hurling abuse can only get them a certain good number of supporters. If they want to continue, sustainability depends on the quality of the content, not on the quality of the abuses.
So does it reflect reality also?
So in certain cases it does reflect, especially
Abuses I am talking about.
Yes, sir, it does reflect. I do believe that it does reflect, because at the ground level, if we go to the villages.
So that way, what is the harm if it shows the reality?
I think, sir, when these inspirations are taken from reality, it often runs the risk of running the entire community or running the entire area red with the abuses. That is,
But can you really censor OTT platforms? Is it possible under the law?
so the recent IT rules calls for self censorship in the sense
That's
that
a different thing. Sorry, yeah.
No. Self-censorship obviously hasn't worked.
It doesn't work.
so they also it came out with the screen lock, screen control or parental control systems. So I think parental control can be exercised and strict. And the government can look into it. If these are not working, then new rules can be brought in, and if at all a need arises, a body like Central Board for Film Certification can be created for managing them.
Okay, you know, the Chinese foreign minister was here,
Yes, sir.
and the newspapers said that his visit was an unusual outreach.
Yes, sir. So it was because as the Indian sources or the foreign ministry briefing talked about the fact that the Chinese government did not want it to be announced publicly. Second was the fact that he came in a very short span of time, and he came after.
What was unusual about this outreach?
So
They didn't want it to be announced, he came in it, but that is not unusual. What was unusual about it? That he came at all?
Yes, that he came at all after 2 years of the Galwan issue. Yes, he became the first high dignitary from China to come to India.
So did he achieve anything?
Sir, I don't think so that he did achieve anything, because I believe he was here to ask for our Prime Minister's attendance in person in the BRICS summit to be held in China. But I think India is not going to send India's Prime Minister to there, because India's official stance has been that the relationship cannot be natural unless the border situation resolves.
But the Prime Minister will go to BRICS.
So I don't think so. He's going to go to BRICS.
We don't know.
So my personal
views he may
personal
not
views that I think that.
But BRICS is a multilateral forum.
Yes,
It's
sir.
not bilateral.
Yes, sir.
So what's the harm?
Sir, but India's official stance on Chinese expansionism at our borders has been the fact that relationship cannot be natural, cannot be what used to be unless the aggression at the border stops. And India has been very firm in conveying its point of view. So I believe that firmness does indicate the fact that Prime Minister will not go to the BRICS summit.
Do you think China's influence in South Asia is on the wane?
So I would say that it is on wane compared to what was being said in the media or what was the general perception in 2016 till 2018 before the pandemic. Now recently India has also acquired 2 projects from China in in Sri Lanka. India is also providing a line of credit in China, in Sri Lanka. At the same time, many governments which are supposed to be pro-China, for example, the Abdullah Yameen government in Maldives, they've lost election and Muhammad Salih has come to power. And what we have seen is that we've also strengthening our relationship with Russia, which also, and since we have voted at the UN, it makes India's friendship with Russia stronger, giving a sense to China. Also, China's international position has weakened because of its various outreaches to Taliban. So, and the fact that Chinese president has not gone out of the country for at least 2 years since the pandemic began, it does tend to indicate that something amiss is the situation in the world. So I do believe that their power or influence have gone down, at least in the last 2-3 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. What is the meaning of your name? Should I take over?
Yeah.
So it is a combination of 3 words. Yash, Arth and Shekhar means somebody who reaches the peaks of wealth and fame.
Okay. Tell me something about Claude Martin.
So Claude Martin was a French militaryman who had come to India as a young man and who served in the French army during the Carnatic Wars, and he served under Dupleix and Count de Lally. But after the French lost the Carnatic Wars and they lost Pondicherry, he went to serve the British in Calcutta, and after that he came to finally serve in Lucknow under the Nawabs of Awadh. There he made a lot of fortune and he established his home, which is referred to as Constantia, which ended up becoming, and he left in his will that 3 schools be established, one at his birthplace in France called Lyon, the second at his place where he is buried, Lucknow, which is my school, La Martiniere College, and the third in Calcutta where he had served. So there are 3 La Martinières, La Martiniere Lyon, La Martiniere Calcutta, La Martiniere Lucknow.
What are how many total number of schools bearing his name as of now?
So 6 schools.
Just have a look. No, there are 10 in fact.
Okay, 10.
And he's have you read his biography?
No, sir, I haven't read his biography.
He was a polymath,
Yes,
as they call it. Any idea of the range of his interests? Very diverse, very interesting read.
I have read about some of his interests. For example, one hot air balloon in Lucknow. He was also a great architect. He built the Koti Hayat Baksh, which is now the governor's house in Lucknow. He was also responsible for inducting new weapons. He was also running the armory for the Nawab of Awadh, Nawab Asaf-ud-Dawla. So, and he established a village itself that is today referred to as Martin Purwa, just in front of my college. So, yes.
In fact, it says a soldier, architect, surveyor, indigo planter, botanist, money lender, estate manager, builder, and hot air balloonist.
There are so many things that he has done. Yes.
City Montessori School.
Yes, sir.
You've been associated with that.
Yes, sir.
It finds a place in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yes, sir.
For what?
So, maximum number of students in a school which is situated in a city. In that context.
That's right. And who was it founded by?
2 people, Mr. Jagdish Gandhi and his wife.
And when?
So it was founded in 1959.
Tell me something about the rule of law. This is a very common phrase which we learn about, which we hear often enough.
So rule of law means that the society or the country is governed not by the whims and caprices of any one person, but by the rationale of law, which is the command of the sovereign. So basically it will include aspects like there is no privileged class, or people who are similarly situated should be treated equally, and the fact that there can be no absolute power. Everybody is within the umbrella of law, that everyone would be treated as per the situation and as per the law that applies to him.
Now there is a school of thought, and Samuel Huntington famously espoused this, that corruption actually greases the rigid wheels of bureaucracy.
Yes, sir.
Are you in agreement?
So I would say that I have actually very confused opinion about it. I would say that it, at certain extent, it does greases the wheels of economy, and also it does greases at certain places like in bureaucracy also. But I think that the problem with this acceptance is that it will never stop. It is an expanding spiral. So the moment you agree with that view, you don't know where you will end up with. So I would say that we should not allow corruption at any place.
Mr. YASHARTH SHEKHAR,
Yes, sir.
I may have missed something
Yes, sir.
during your interaction with my
Yes, sir.
other colleagues, but I noticed from your DAF that you have not opted for the Indian Police Service.
Yes, sir.
And why is that?
Sir, I have not actually opted for all the technical services, because last time when I went for the medical, they disqualified me for the technical services. I am colorblind, red green colorblind. So,
Okay, all right. But for the IAS, your cadre preference is your home cadre,
yes, sir.
Uttar Pradesh.
Yes, sir.
What are the developmental challenges which an IAS officer faces while serving in Uttar Pradesh?
Sir, these varies from region to region. So, if we look at western Uttar Pradesh, the biggest developmental challenge would be communal riots and declining productivity of soil, because this is the area where the maximum amount of fertilizer in Uttar Pradesh is utilized. So, in places like Bundelkhand, the biggest developmental challenge is the absence of infrastructure and the absence of revenue generating potential of the state of
Okay,
Bundelkhand.
now let's talk about the first challenge which you mentioned,
Yes, sir.
communal
Riots.
riots. How do you combat that problem? What is the way out?
So, I think there can be a three-way strategy, that you first of all you identify what has been the major communal hotspots. You go on deploying certain extra number of troops, a certain extra number of policemen. If at all a scuffle breaks out, you need to control that, you need to nip that in the bud. So, second aspect can be when the full blown communal riot has broken out, fast deployment of rapid action battalion and rapid action police should be done. And third aspect can be where a committee can be created with people from different communities, so that some discussion, deliberations, so that it leads to enduring peace in the region, I think, in these three.
What do you understand by the Human Development Index?
So, Human Development Index is brought out by United Nations Development Program. It consists of three aspects: the per capita income, education levels, and the quality of life.
Are you sure?
So health life expectancy, yes.
All right. The quality of life includes all these.
Yes, quality.
Now, where does Uttar Pradesh rank in terms of this? How does it fare in terms of the Human Development Index?
So I can't give the exact answer on the ranking, but I would say it ranks below average, if I were to give a qualitative answer.
Now, what would you do to try and improve the HDI?
So, since it is made up of three parameters, I think investment in health must be the first priority, because it not only improves the life expectancy index, but it also leads to creation of a healthy workforce that can work for the development, and that may work in productive sectors of the economy, leading to rise in income, which helps in improving the second parameters, which is the per capita income. And sir, on the third aspect, I'm forgetting the third aspect of HDI.
All right, let us talk about something else. What can you tell me about the FATF?
So, it stands for Financial Action Task Force. It is a group of countries.
How many?
So, 39.
39 countries.
37 countries plus Gulf Cooperation Council and European Commission.
Okay, and it is located where?
So, at the OECD headquarters in Paris.
Okay, and what are its main functions?
So, its main functions are primarily to combat money laundering and anti-terror financing.
So, is it succeeding in its endeavors?
I think it has been able to put a lot of pressure on the countries which are usually considered the safe havens for such activities, like Iran or North Korea, and even countries like Turkey and Pakistan have been put in the grey list.
Is Turkey in the grey list?
Yes, sir. I think Turkey is in the grey list.
All right. Okay. And why is Pakistan not being put in the black list, which it really deserves to be in?
Sir, because the number of votes that are required to put Pakistan are usually not obtainable, given that China does not agree to the proposal and also Turkey, both these countries do not agree to the proposal of
So
putting
only 2 votes are enough to keep Pakistan out.
So I believe that decision making is done by consensus.
Now, in this regard, 3 votes are needed, and the third is Malaysia.
Okay.
That's how Pakistan is not being put in the blacklist. How do you rate the performance of Pakistan in terms of its economy?
So I think that Pakistan is in a crisis mode, especially as far as economics is concerned. Their foreign exchange reserves are almost nothing, and they are borrowing from Saudi Arabia, and they've gone to IMF for the money. And
How much?
So I can't recall that exact figure. So secondly, their inflation, on the inflation front, they are doing badly. Their inflation on the food prices is around 20%, and other commodities are also in scarcity.
So, as you know, there is no confidence motion against
Yes, sir.
Imran Khan. So, if there is a change of government, do you think they will be able to change their economic situation?
So my personal view is that they will not be able to change it. However, there is a certain section which says that since Shahbaz Sharif is going to be the next Prime Minister, he has been known to be a very good administrator as far as administration is concerned, since he was the Chief Minister of Punjab province. So there may be certain hope for that, but I think that they will not be able to handle the situation at hand very badly. In fact, this was one of the issues that was raised by Imran Khan when he campaigned.
What do you think are the prospects of India getting a seat as a permanent member of the UN Security Council? Your view?
So I think it is very difficult right now, and
why is that?
because China will always veto it, and our recent stance during the Ukraine-Russia war has already given a sense that India may not always work in the interest of the Western bloc like America, Britain.
So the
France.
Western bloc will also veto?
No, I don't think so. They will veto. A sense has been sent, a perception has been created, but I think that will not affect the veto power, their veto against us. But I think China will not remove its veto.
All right, my last question. Democracy is not the best form of government. Speak for a minute for or against.
But it is better than the other form of government, sir, I would
So
say.
speak 1 minute or for or against.
Sir, democracy is the most essential because it may not lead to the fast development as happened in case of China, but it has not stopped us from raising our voices, raising our dissent, and to be able to put across our views to the people. In China, we saw the 1989 crackdown on the students, where hundreds of thousands of students were killed because they wanted democracy, the Tiananmen Square massacre. Also, at the same time, democracy allows us to look at various prospects in democracy, who can lead us. For example, today we may have a different prime minister, tomorrow we may go for a different prime minister. It also helps us to create a freedom to express ourselves. Also, the acceptance into the global community increases, because today is the world of democracy, and without democracy we will not be acceptable to all the countries. Even China is now, or for that matter, China is not willing to support directly Russia, because it knows that its relationship with the Americans will get further worse. So I believe that democracy in that sense may not lead to the desirable results in a limited time span as people would want, but at the end of the day it will lead to a conclusion which is satisfying to all the communities and all the sections of society.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. YASHARTH. Our discussion with you is over. Kindly wait outside for a few minutes. We will call you and give you feedback.
Thank you, sir.